In this video, we're now going to put everything together in the roll minefield. We're going to do the platoon level. How would this look like when it's part of a company defense? Now, our scenario. We are defending against a mechanized enemy equipped with T-72 tanks, BMP-2 fighting vehicles. They also have air defense assets, which are German Gepard air defense. This is a multinational force we are facing. The enemy is predominantly East European, with some advisors from Russian territories. We are defending on U.S. soil. The Militia Engineer Company is assisting a mechanized infantry battalion from the National Guard that it changed sides early in the war and is fighting with the resistance. We are assigned to emplace an obstacle belt closing off a gap between two ridge lines that we believe the enemy is going to try to use as a high-speed avenue of approach to get into our rear areas. Now we're going to be putting in two fixed minefields, one on this side, and our second platoon is going to put one in on this side of the roadway. We're going to put in a triple standard concertina wire fence going across the front, and it will go across the roadway. The rows that are going to go directly across the roadway will be tied in on the sides of the road. There will not be any pickets put in the roadway because the road surface is too thick. Right in front of the minefield, there will be a road crater that will be blown in. First platoon has been given the mission of putting in the right side minefield. The company commander has designated a site for a company mine dump down the roadway here that will supply mines for both minefields. The first platoon leader has assigned elements from the 4th squad along with the platoon sergeant to work at the mine dump. Now, while the platoon leaders from 1st platoon and 2nd platoon are getting the minefield marked out, the platoon sergeant will be at the mine dump with the assigned troops, and they will be uncrating mines for this minefield, and the similar element from 2nd platoon will be uncrating mines for their minefield. While this is getting marked out to platoon, the rest of the platoon will be assisting with a triple standard concertina wire fence. They'll be emplacing it across up here. We're closing this off, going right to the edge of the roadway. We will leave the roadway open for scouts that are still up ahead, which are our tripwire warning us of the enemy approach. The materials needed to close off this road will be left right at the side. 2nd platoon will be working from the other direction, also coming to the same point right across from it on the roadway. Once the minefield is marked out, 1st squad has been tasked with the alpha row, which will have an IOE. We are going to be putting in a fixed minefield, not disrupts, because we're trying to keep the enemy from moving through at a quick pace. 1st squad has alpha row, 2nd squad has Bravo row, and then whichever squad finishes first will be assigned the Charlie row. Our third squad is being assigned to put in a frat fence, which will go right along the edge of the roadway down here. Our entrance to the minefield will be right here. It'll be right beside the fence. So we got our third squad, they're putting in a frat fence across the back here. The squads have been told for emplacing. They're supposed to come in between the Charlie row markers and the frat fence. So they're going to come in through here and then go to their start points. First squad will start first, laying out their mines. So they'll come in, they'll get their end row marker in place, they'll get the first mine down. The mines were already fused at the mine dump, so they'll also put in the bag, the sandbag with the pins and clips and wrenches near the end row marker, and they'll start putting in the mines. Spaced 6 meters apart. When they get to the first IOE, they get that in place and they get their markers put in, pounding the short pickets all the way into the ground. So we get all our mines going in there. Moving on to our next one. When they get to the second IOE marker, second squad will start with the Bravo row. They'll do the same thing, get their end row marker pounded in the ground, and they'll start laying in their mines. They need to stay at least 25 meters behind the arming team from first squad. So if it gets to a point where they're starting to run close to each other, they're catching up, it's going to be a question of, well, what's the distance, how far are they away? But you want first squad to finish first. So then they keep coming in. Laying out their mines. Getting their end row marker put in. They're done. And then they head back to the mine dump. They're the first ones done. They'll pick up the mines to do Charlie. Second squad keeps putting in the Lazy W. When it comes into doing this in real life, these two squads, because first squad's got the IOE and second squad's got the Lazy W, they'll be laying at about the same pace. And then we come in. Forgot my end row markers pounded into the ground on the ends. We get our next end row marker put in. The bag, safety clips and wrenches is buried. Now on this minefield, just a note, the Alpha Row and the IOE are supposed to be full width mines, which would be anti-tank mines with tilt rods. The Bravo Row, Charlie Row are supposed to be track width mines, which would be just pressure plates. The Alpha Row and the IOE are buried in this example. The Bravo Row and the Charlie Row are going to be surface laid. Now, while this is all going on down here, dismounted infantry will be digging in positions up in here. Forward observers will be up in here putting in a position. They'll probably be back here somewhere or possibly across this side road, still having a good eyes on up here. You will have farther back, covering this obstacle, will be vehicle fighting positions, which will be getting dug in for some Bradleys and any other armor asset and anti-armor assets that we're able to get a hold of. Now, once the scouts come in, they're returning, you know, the enemy's on the way. This triple standard gets closed off going across the road. The minefields are in, hopefully. They get set. The road crater will get, the charges for the road crater will get set on the roadway. We'll do it just in front of the minefield. And then when they get the order, they blow the crater in the road. So we now got our big gaping hole on the road here. And then everyone pulls back down here after that road crater is blown. The frat fence will be extended going across the road to link up with the frat fence on the other side. Now, what would happen when the enemy would come in to breach? More than likely, the easiest location for them to breach would be on the roadway, so that's where the majority of your direct fires are going to be directed. They come down the road, they hit this road crater, they're either going to go to their right or their left, at which time they will come right into that buried row of the IOE and the Alpha Row on the minefields. So then they got to make a decision. Do they get back on the road because there's no telling what's going on and most of the fire is being concentrated right on the roadway? So do they try breaching the minefield, keep going this way, or are they going to try coming down the roadway going this way? This roadway really should be covered by the forward observers with indirect fire. So if they see the enemies now skirting this minefield, they're trying to make it through that little itty bitty path right here to get back on the hardball. As soon as those vehicles start coming up onto here, he needs to call in for artillery and mortars to start laying down on that road, which should be registered. So as the enemy's coming in here, they're trying to move through. There's frickin' rounds coming in, hitting right on the roadway, right next to the roadway. You're putting as many fires as you can on the enemy as they're coming through. So that by the time they get down here to try to breach on this last minefield, there's vehicles knocked out all over up in here. There's people and parts laying all over the place before they can breach in here. Now, if the infantry positions up in here really should have overhead cover to protect against any rounds that go to the sides from the artillery and the mortars, and also any fragment that comes in along with direct fires and indirect fires from the enemy, because it's likely the enemy's going to expect troops are up here defending, so they'll be dropping their own artillery and mortars up on the hillway or the hillside. And that's generally how the platoon mission looks and how it would fit into a battle plan. Now, farther back here, there would be other types of obstacles that could be in place to slow the enemy or block the enemy also. But right now we got a fixed intent going on with that minefield, meaning we're just trying to hold them in this area long enough we can get massed fires onto them, trying to slow them up. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia movements, always remember, essayons.